we get into some word review, into some new suffixes, I do want to talk about the major organs of the body. I wanted to talk about this early in our learning because it's really important to have a reference for what it is we're looking at. And you don't have to know a lot of the detail or the function of these organs yet, but you should be able to identify them on a diagram of the body or what you're looking at and have a general idea of what their location is. So let's take a look at those organs. All right, so here we are, and we've got this full picture. We're also going to look at some medical terms that go with this in Unit 3. But let's kind of subdivide each of our body sections. All right, so here's just an empty background of a body. We have seen this particular term before, thoraco. It is a root term. Remember that backslash and that O indicates that it is a root term and that it meant chest. So we're going to kind of take a close-up look at the chest and a couple of the major organs that are found inside of it. All right, hopefully you recognize this as the heart. The heart, we have also seen this word before. So cardio is the root term for the heart. So C-A-R-D-I-O. All right, so this is not a new one. I just wanted to make sure we had a visual of what this looked like inside of the chest cavity. And we're going to use this root term with our new suffixes today to create some brand new terms. Covering over the heart a little bit are the lungs. So here we have two lungs. We won't get too detailed into these yet, but the root term for lung, or air sometimes, is pneumo. P-N-E-U-M with the backslash and the O. So when we have a P and an N together, generally we just start with the N sound. So pneumo is how we're going to pronounce this. We're going to move down into the abdomen in a second, but between that thoraco or that chest cavity and the abdomen, we've got a pretty clear divider. So this is a big muscle that separates that heart and that lung from all of the other stuff that we're about to take a look at. This is the diaphragm. You may have heard of this before. This is what helps us to breathe in and out. It is found right underneath your ribs. The root term for the diaphragm is phreno. Remember when we talked in Unit 2 about the PH letters going together? PH together sounds like an F sound in the English language, and so this is pronounced phreno. It refers to that muscle that helps us breathe, the diaphragm, but it also separated our thoracic cavity, so that thoracic chest area, from the abdomen or the stomach region. All right, let's get more detailed in that abdomen. And we have seen this root term before. This is a bit of a review for you. So abdomino, right, is the root term for the abdomen. And most people who are not in healthcare might refer to this as the stomach. But we're going to call this the abdomen, so that whole region underneath the diaphragm. All right, so this little organ that came in is kind of tucked in towards the back on the right side. It is the gallbladder, and the root term that is new for you in terms of the gallbladder is cholo, C-H-O-L-O, and it refers to this lovely little gallbladder that you see pictured here. Because the chemical inside the gallbladder is green, it's almost always pictured in green if that's helpful for you, because it is green in real life. All right, sitting on top of the gallbladder, and these two work together, which we'll look at in some anatomy coursework, is hepato. This is the liver. So hepato, H-E-P-A-T-O, is the root term for the liver. This is the largest internal organ of the body, and it sits on the right side, just in front of that gallbladder. All right, next, we have this lovely yellow colored organ. Again, it is almost always colored yellow in textbooks because it looks this color in real life. This is the pancreas, and fortunately, the root term for the pancreas is pretty straightforward. Pancreato is the root term for pancreas, but this is what it looks like inside the human body. All right, tucked next to the pancreas is the spleen. You do just have one because you're going to see an organ of a similar color shortly, but there are two of them. This one is right next to the pancreas. This is the spleen, and the root term for the spleen is spleno. All right, next, we are going to add the stomach on top. So here you see it looks a little bit like a dark pink color. It went right on top of the pancreas. We have seen the root term for the word stomach before. That root term was gastro. We're going to see it again today as we're doing some new suffixes. However, this is where it is located inside the human body. So just so that you have a visual of what that looks like. All right, next, we have two of these. These are the kidneys. They are found just above the pelvis bones. So if I said to stick your hands on your hips, right, those are part of the pelvis bones. However, just above that, you're going to find an organ on each side. Those are the kidneys. The root term for the kidneys is nephro, N-E-P-H-R-O, pronounced nephro. Again, remember that that PH letter inside of medical terminology was pronounced like the F sound. We're taking a look at the bladder. So you can see it down here towards the bottom in this dark maroon color. The bladder has a root term that we call cysto, C-Y-S-T-O, cysto. These organs, we have the small intestine. It's here in light pink. Small intestines are about 30 feet long and they're sort of coiled on top of all the other organs we've taken a look at. What we're looking at today is the root term for the small intestines. And the root term for the small intestines is the word entero. Entero. Kind of surrounding the outside of the small intestine is the large intestine. It is much shorter, but you can see it's more defined, much wider, which is why it is the large intestine. And the two potential root terms for the large intestine are either colo, C-O-L, with the combining vowel of O, or colono, okay, with the O-N addition. So either one of those, and they are similar to each other, okay, would refer to the large intestine. So here is a look at the body with all of those organs in place. Some are hidden behind the other ones, which is why we showed you the view of them coming in sort of one at a time with each of their individual terms. So now that you're sort of seeing the full overlay, we're going to move on to some other topics.